Excellent. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our little live here. Even though we're live on Zoom, we're going to be taking this replay and posting it out on all of the favorite web applications tomorrow. Excellent. Welcome, Fi-ya. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having this conversation with us tonight. There's a beautiful fish. I love him. He's just gorgeous. Okay. So what were we discussing? What were we talking about?
Okay, so we were talking about how your newest download was that there's going to be home cultivation of plants that provide more information about alternate realities. So that's quite exciting because you were saying that most of those plants were naturally grown by Mother Nature in the Amazon rainforest, but because of deforestation, there's a lot of trauma happening there.
Yes. And the trauma that's happening there is really, it's changing the way that we do things, because now you're starting to see people at home and the home cultivation, like the people are just, they're getting very excited. And a lot of people have come to terms with the fact that some mushrooms heal the physical form. Actually, mushrooms are the #1 medicine on the planet. And so it just so happens to be that some of the mushrooms unlock different levels of consciousness. And so the plants that we see on the planet now, they're only the first degree of the unlocking of the consciousness progress they are saying, the star people are saying. And so that whole ability of modification of plants, the modification of plants can also be done spontaneously by Mother Earth when the consciousness calls for it. So when a human consciousness gets the thought inside the mind that I need this plant, then all of a sudden that plant will form. And so we take a look at some of the tales or the fables or the fiction on your planet. And so some of the tales involve eating a magic piece of food, and then all of a sudden you growing in size, or eating a piece of food and then you are shrinking in size. That piece of food is always a plant. And so this is real because size is only an illusion to your physical perception of your reality. And so what that means is, as extraterrestrials, we have the ability and potential to take our starships and we can make them very large or we can make them very small. We can also make them look like orbs. We can fly them around your bedroom. We can fly them through your walls. And so physical matter is not by any means a restriction to us anymore at this degree. And so you all have the ability of using plant-based free passes in order to manifest different experiences into your physical reality. And yet you may also do it with just the conscious mind. Either way that you so choose to manifest is up to you. But both ways are fully present and possible for your reality experience. That's pretty, yeah. That was a different energy. Cool.
Did you just have like a blip or something, or what happened?
Yeah, that was like totally left field. Like that was not a regular star person. That was cool. He seemed very straight edge. Yeah, it was cool.
Okay.
I should have asked him for his name.
All right. So, well, you know, all of humankind's medicines were actually originating in the Amazon rainforest. And sadly, with the deforestation, we could be losing vital and necessary medicine.
No, you can't think like that, because when you see it or you perceive it as a loss, then you're going to perceive a loss. You're going to manifest the loss. Now, what's happening is you're seeing one plant, and that one plant can be removed from your physical reality. But that does not mean that the information is lost, because the information is only an emotion code. An emotion code is a vibratory frequency. So each and every plant, you can pull the frequency range out of the plant, and you can scientifically now take that frequency and blast that frequency into a part of the body and heal the body. Well, say this plant dies. Its binary codex frequency was this, and so that plant dies. Now all of a sudden, the secondary plant comes out of nowhere. How did that happen? Maybe the bird ate the seed of the first plant and it spit it next to a different plant. Those two plants intertwined and it spit out a third plant. That's how Mother Earth works. She works as a circle of life. And so when a human needs or requires a plant, that plant will be fully manifest. And so you also want to take a look, and everyone who is here, just also, if you guys could just mute your microphones so we could just get the live recording done. Thank you, guys. And so you want to have a look at Mother Earth as a whole. And so the number one cause of human disease is heart disease. And so now, how did Mother Earth respond to that? She put dandelions out. The dandelion is the number one plant, and that is found across everybody's front yard. It's everywhere. And so what happens? It's circular in its nature. That's its seed. Its seed is a circle. And so when children look at it, they make a wish and they blow on it and they blow the seeds all over the place. And so the plant reproduces like a weed because it reproduces in bulk. And that's specifically because it's the number one needed plant on the planet. And so that's the way Mother Earth responds to, acts of killing off the plants and stuff, and us not having access to it. She puts it in our front yard. And so when everyone becomes aware, oh, okay, if I'm sick, let me go walk around my backyard and take a photo of all the plants in my backyard. And let me see if one of those plants is my cure. Because you'll notice 9 times out of 10, one of those plants that's right next to you is the cure that you need. That's how Mother Earth heals us. She manifests the plant that we need, and it'll always be within our reach.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like how you told me that I would manifest something depending on the way I thought about it. And so basically what you've said is that Mother Nature just kind of rolls with whatever we're dishing out, and it's always going to work out. So that's very, very interesting. So I need to look at that. And I think a lot of us that watch these kinds of videos, we need to look at that, the way we think. We can really change our future by that. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because there's some plants that produce berries. And so when I had learned this information about the plants healing us, I had actually, been interacting with my kids with this plant in the backyard, and then we researched it. And then it was funny because it said when you smush the berries or you get the berry juice in your hands, then all of a sudden it stains your hands bright red, but it has a pain relieving effect on the body. And at the time, I was in extreme pain. And so just by playing with these berries with my kids and then researching it, I'm coming to the realization, oh my God, just by squeezing the juice in our hands, it's healing the pain, right? And so you see how the synchronicity leads you to unpack this information. And so if everybody knew that you can just go outside in your backyard and play with berry juice and just put some on your back and then your back will feel better, like it's just an amazing experience. It really, really is, because we think that we have to go to the doctor, go to the pharmacy and get all this crap. And none of that is a cure. None of it's a cure. And so if that stuff is not going to cure you, then you're wasting your time with it. You want a cure. So the only cures are going to come from raising the biological frequency. How are we going to raise the frequency? We can use plants. We can use frequency tools. We can use crystals, because crystals contain a frequency inside of them. But not only that, the express divinity inside each and every one of us is so high frequency that we even can make a prayer circle. And so a prayer circle, a meditation circle, whatever kind of circle that you wish to call it, you can put the sick person in the center of the circle, and you can have 20 people on the outside of the circle oming. Om. That's the universal frequency code, is Om. And so Om is an O is circular in nature. O is a frequency wave. It always goes in circles. And so we always talk about vortex energetic. Those always flow in circular motions. When a human being is born, its egg is circular. The egg gets penetrated, but the egg is what starts to split and develop. It's circular in nature. And so life-giving energetics are always going to be circular. So when you stick someone in the center of a circle and you chant frequencies of love and bliss directly in the center of the circle, it has some type of healing, spontaneous effect. And so this is important too with drum circles, because drums specifically control the heart. They have a very, very strong effect on the heart energetic field. And so the faster the drum, like beating of the war drums, would beat your heart rate faster. Well, what happens if we go really slow? and you took a drum and you banged it once and then you walked around the whole circle, right? Many people who do drum circles, they do it kind of rapidly and it kind of gets you all a little, and it pumps you up a little bit, which is great. But try and do it slow, because the slower that you can slow your heart rate, the more you're going to access different levels of perception. The speed force, you utilize the speed force through activating your heart chakra and slowing it down. And so there's many different ways to do it, but the primary way of doing it is to just stop your heart. And the way you stop your heart is a perception. So you feel like your heart took one katunk and then it took forever for the next katunk. That's how you know you're in the speed force. It comes from the heart itself.
Yeah. Interesting. The original drum is the heart. That's the original drum beat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fascinating how we are all attracted to drums. I really don't know anybody that doesn't like drum.
It goes in the back of every song. So you'll hear the drums kicking in the background. And that's because a lot of times you use music to raise your spirits. You want to get energized when you're listening to it. And so what do you need? You need that in the back, because it's pumping you up. And when you do that, like I've even noticed, like I'm not in resonance with the heavy metal music I used to listen to as a kid, but on the rare occasion, I might listen to like one song to get my house clean. But it pumps me up to the point where I'm like, the whole house got cleaned in like 10 minutes, and so it has a place.
That's very interesting, because you know what? A lot of conscious people have a background in really liking heavy metal, because I don't look like it, but me too. I had a time in my life where I liked heavy metal, and I actually listened to death metal, which sounds crazy, but when we're in a state of, I'm going to say the energy is really low, like sad or unexpressive, it's that kind of music that will get us back to where we need to be. So it'll serve purpose for a time, and then we can move past it, so.
Yeah, of course. And we also see our elders do the same thing. And so you'll notice, like, your parents will get to a certain point and they won't be able to listen to the loud music, right? And so that's because their zone of time space actually changes. So the sound that you feel, if it's amplified too much or if it's not enough, that actually plays a role on the consciousness as well. So loud sounds tend to bother elderly people. Well, also you'll notice that they drive slower, and that's because their time space changes as well. So you have to realize, when you are having so much fun, time seems to fly. So what happens when you're younger and you're always having a lot of fun? You can zippity-doo-dah doing 80, 90 miles an hour in your car. It's not going to bother you. But when you turn 80 years old, now all of a sudden your energy field tends to shrink in a little bit. When that happens, now all of a sudden you're going very slow. So your perception of time space has changed. You're going slower. So what does that mean? That means when you get in a car and you go 60 miles an hour, you feel like you're flying because you are going slower. That's all energetics. So all that stuff is balanced in the energy field. And so that all has to do with the time space frequency and your perception of it, which has to do with your emotion grids. Now, your emotion grids are inside the heart. Those are hexagonal in nature. They're also blue. Your thought grids are inside your mind. Those are like a yellow color, and they are dodecahedron. You put them both together, they form your memory grid, which is green. And so that's an icosahedron. And so the sacred geometry of these things is kind of important, because you'll start to see crystals, and different crystals will be in different platonic solid shapes. And so when you start to interact with like a dodecahedron crystal, then you know that crystal is going to have an effect on your thought grid. When you start to mess with the hexagonal crystal, that's your emotions, right? And so on and so forth. So when you start to put the pieces together, and the crystals as well, each crystal has a sex. And you can tell by the little spin inside the crystal. It could be male, it could be female, it could be both. And so if you are having a chi energetic imbalance, that's the balance of your masculine energetics, which is in the right-hand side of the body. So you would want to look for a crystal that is a masculine crystal. That crystal being masculine will balance that energetic in the physical form. Your feminine energetics are tied into the emotions, right? Because they are magnetic. You magnetize according to your emotional frequency. And so if you look for a crystal that's feminine in nature, that crystal is going to start to heal the magnetic emotional frequencies. right? And so all of these things fit together because when you take a look at the way the entire physical reality works, it actually fits like a puzzle. And so you can go on and on and on and on and on for days describing every single puzzle piece of how the physical reality works, why it works, how everything is interconnected, how every person is a direct reflection coming from a frequency inside of yourself. And so, but you can also start to see how we are connected to the solar energetics. And so look at tonight. We're experiencing a type of eclipse energy. And so what happened? Now all of a sudden, our live streams are getting shut down. This happened once before when we were going through a solar energetic shift. So now this just turned into a cycle repeat. So how do you break a cycle repeat? Well, all the people involved in making that cycle, because it wasn't just us on our end, it was the hundreds of people who watched during that event. Those people all, it's like a form of transmutation. Everybody has to just be at peace with the experience manifest, and then all of a sudden it'll break the cycle. However, you also have to realize that each individual is in their own timeline bubble. So I may break the cycle from my consciousness, from my perception and my end. And so it may not happen in my reality or my timeline. But yet all those people who watched it, they got upset, it could happen to them again. It's a parallel reality that each and every one of us are plugged into. So this is the true nature of a multi-dimensional being. And each and every one of us is kind of plugged into a simulation with their own cords. Yeah.
Very interesting how we bring our own bubble, our world, and then we start merging it with somebody else's reality, and then it kind of fuses together, and then we both co-create a reality. So we're quite powerful, like as individuals, but then when we come together, then we have more power in threes,
Yeah.
but
in three or more. Because when you
more.
get 1,000 people and 1,000 people meditate, you could change the rotation of the earth. That's how powerful we are.
Yeah,
you can move mountains.
That's super cool. So while we just started to talk about this, maybe we can speak about the kind of the game plan we had for talking, which was about soul tribes and soulmates, twin flames, and basically people that we have resonance with. Maybe you could talk about that and like what the purpose is and the differences between this kind of partner and that kind of partner, and families and then extended families, and how we can kind of pick our families, not by blood, but by resonance.
Yeah, and that totally works. You have to remember well, it's 5D or the heavens. And so whichever terminology that you guys feel most comfortable using is fine, because it's all the same thing. And the star people say it's all the same thing. And so what happens is you have a group of people who are your friends. Those are your primary. But you have to realize it's a higher self. So it's like your higher soul form has a group or a family tribe. But then there's like billions of souls out there, because the source frequency fractals into so many different aspects. It's unlimited aspects it can fractal itself into. And so there are different ways, the star people are saying, of making a soul baby. And so this is interdimensional pregnancy, which is basically astral unions can generate a new soul form to be formed from the source frequency they're saying. And so, well, that's possible. But you normally in the heavens, you have your little family group. And so you guys come into the physical reality and you come in and you say, okay, in this life, I'm going to be the mom. In the next life, I'm going to be the child. In the next life, I'm going to be the aunt. And so you guys all rotate. It's like doing a little dance. Yeah. And so that's the normal way that a soul tribe would manifest into the physical reality. A lot of star seeds in this reality, though, we dropped in solo warriors because the extraterrestrials, which was us in that lifetime, we decided that we had to fractal us all over the entire planet so that we can raise the frequency of all of the human consciousness grids. And so because they spread us all out, now we're seeing it where everyone is like, oh, we're so alone because everyone is across the country or so far away. That was done on purpose because they needed to spread us out, because we are each holding a radius in our energetic grids. That radius ricochets up into Mother Earth's energetic grid structures for the human consciousness grids. And so when you start to blast your energetics up into that grid, you're raising the frequency of the entire planet. So in turn, we came here to save the planet. And yes, we're all superheroes by coming here and being human. But any human that comes here and walks this path automatically, in my eyes, is a superhero. because you're walking through the density and the darkness, and the reincarnation cycle on this planet is rigged. And so there is a type of energetic grid. Now, there's a Christ consciousness grid above the crown chakra. You have to be an energy match of love and care and kindness in order to pass through that grid. That grid is kind of like a gate. It's a gatekeeper to allow you access into 5D frequencies. So what does that mean? That means that your biological frequency has to be really, really high. You have to take care of yourself. You have to do self-love. You have to love not only yourself, you have to love your environment. You have to love every single experience that you have ever had, no matter how much trauma and tragedy has fallen upon you. You have to love all people, regardless of if those people are loving, caring, kind, or they're not. So that's unconditional love for all things around you. And so that is going to raise your biologics enough to a degree in which you are granted access to pass through that gate. And it's not like you have to be perfect, but you have to be pretty close to it to get through that gate. And so that's a 5D gate. Now, the solar energetics comes and pulses all the density and darkness off you and allows you access to go through that gate. That's how we normally evolve the entire species at once. However, you have to be 51% loving, caring, kind in order for that solar flash to pulse and clean you enough and allow you through that gate. On the normal human experience, what we are seeing happening, and the star people are stepping forward, there is a suppression grid that's been placed over the earth. And so that suppression grid goes in, it uses Saturn and the moon matrix. And so it's beaming different types of frequencies at the earth, which is keeping us trapped in a 3D perspective. And so we are not supposed to be in a 3D perspective on this planet. It was supposed to be a 5D perspective. But because that there was trauma and tragedy a very long time ago, it ripped a hole through the dimensions or density levels. And so it actually allowed the lower vibrational beings to enter or access this realm. And so they placed a grid around the earth so that you had to go through the entire reincarnation process in order to pass through that Christ consciousness grid. And so what happened is now, instead of the soul being allowed to come here for one lifetime and shoot back up to the source frequency and plan and pick what planet they want to go to, they would get stuck here. And they would get stuck here because the planet is allowing lower vibrational beings into this density or this particular universe. And the rest of the people were like, we don't want that over here. Put a guard up, right? So they kind of quarantined us. I would have done the same thing. And so by quarantining us, though, now the human being has to go through the cycle 100,000 times until they are high enough frequency to pass through that Christ consciousness grid. That's a problem because the human beings who are on the planet, they would have never passed through. And it was actually causing distortion or drama to the soul form, they are saying. And so they flooded the planet with starseeds. This has been, they've tried to do this multiple times and they failed. And so we're looking at, this is like a 5th time. But this time they can see that we definitely evolved the planet. So it's kind of like this is the time when we win. Yeah.
Thank God.
47%, 46% of the population is starseed. And not only that, but, and I like to say this again, I've said this twice today, but they're willing to assign a rep to each and every person along their ascension path. So if anyone wants help on their spiritual path, just thank the star people for sending them a rep. And that person will be their guide and they will be there supporting them 100%. Now the reps change. And so you may have a rep and then that guy may like take a vacation for a week and then someone else steps in. So the reps rotate, but they have enough people that you can constantly always have someone looking at you and helping you and guiding you and assisting you. Yeah.
So nobody's ever alone.
Never. You never. There's no privacy either. And so the second that you realize the way that time space flows and you're able to tune into somebody's energetic grids and you're able to see every thought, every manifestation, every experience, there's no privacy. So they can telepathically, using psionic abilities, they can tune into your energetics and they can see everything, every moment of your life. Every moment. And so, you know, it kind of changes the way that we behave because, you know, when you thought nobody was looking, you could scratch your butt, but now you know people are looking, so you should be proper. Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, the thing is, we need to have fun. We need to have fun while we're here. So whatever laughs we can get out of that whole thing.
Exactly. And not only that, but they encourage us all to laugh. and be as children are. Because when you laugh and you encumber joy and bliss, and not only that, but it's more like excitement and wonder. And so that's really what we're stepping into with the activation of extrasensory abilities. I mean, how many people get joyous and wondrous and, oh my God, is that real? And everybody wants magical abilities. I don't know a single person. I mean, what year did Superman come out? And people were like ranting and raving over that movie. And so, but now it's a real potential, it's a real possibility. And so you just have a look at that, because I did a session with the lady today, and the star people told me that she had the ability to see into people's energetic grid structures, but then she had the ability to beam some type of frequency or energy at them and re-encode their grids back to a proper binary codex frequency. But they said it was coming out of her eyes. And so when I asked her, she said her eyesight is perfect, and she's always thought that. And so that's her ability. You see, so every single person is going to wake up with slightly different abilities. And then we're going to start to see a blending of the abilities. And then all of a sudden, everyone's going to have all of the abilities. That's the way the gifts are going to be manifest. Yeah.
Well, right now we are receiving them, and they're gifts, but that's what we were able to do a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're getting that ability back.
Oh yeah, we're remembering it. It's total remembrance, because we've done this in so many different lifetimes. I mean, we're starseeds. And so we came here with full psionic abilities from our past lives. Now, a lot of us have stasis pod bodies because we didn't want to get stuck here in that whole 100,000 year rotation, right? So your soul did not want to get trapped down here. So God forbid something bad happens to you and you had a ripcord out of this body, then all of a sudden your star family would yank you and put you back into your old body. So yes, that is true. However, you do the best that you can do at what you have. And so, and everyone understands this place people have a hard time here. It's okay. And so you do the best that you can do.
Yeah. That's interesting how you speak about the ripcord, because I actually know a handful of people that kind of like died and came back. And when they came back, they had really profound knowledge about what was on the other side. They changed their life. And I mean, I would think that when we deal with that in an extreme way, we're the ones on the table, but we can witness it through other people, and then we can change our lives as well. So it kind of depends.
Absolutely. Okay, I just had to listen. I thought one of my kids was calling me.
Okay.
Yes, and we definitely do. And so it's really funny that you bring that up, because see, the fear of death. You have to realize when you're passing through that Christ consciousness grid, death is a part of the physical reality, and so the fear of death. No, they're laughing. Okay, she's not crying. The fear of death is very, very important. It's a mom job. So the fear of death is very important to shake loose, because if you have any fears, those fears are going to manifest in 5 days. And so the fear of death is very real. But this is the reason why a lot of starseeds, specific starseeds, have gone through some type of death experience in which the star family knew that they weren't going to die, but they were like, you're going to go through it. You may even go through it 10 times, because by the time you've gone through it 10 times, you should have no fear, right? And so the second that you can walk through life and you cannot have a single fear about dying, then all of a sudden you become the most powerful person on the planet, because you don't have any fear of death. And so I personally have noticed in my lifetime that whenever I lost the fear of death, let's say I was going through a breakup, right? You go through a breakup and then you're like, and then all of a sudden you get on a motorcycle, because this is exactly what I did, but I didn't have any fear of getting hurt. And so I noticed that I drove better because I wasn't scared. And then all of a sudden I started a new relationship, and then this fear came back. Oh, well, now I have something to lose, right? And so then all of a sudden you start driving different, because now you have something to lose. Now that fear of death comes creeping back in, right? And so when you lose the fear of death, it's a place of empowerment, because it changes your behaviors and actions in the now moment. And so when you believe and you have that faith, and that faith is actually strong enough to guide you and support you, then all of a sudden you're stronger in the now moment. And so even the ancient Egyptians took apart everything, and they were like, you know what, you guys, you have to get over the fear of death, because any fears will be instantaneously manifest in 5 days. So you have to get over it. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially too, when you carry that fear into the last moments of your life, that can actually transmute you into another realm where that fear is real, like when you
Yes,
passed over. So that's,
absolutely.
the faster you can get rid of
However,
fear.
most of the times, because of the way that the energetic grids work, right? And so this is a big thing that's, well, it's up in the air, right? And so we've always been told when you die, you go to the light. What is that light? Is that light the energetic grid that kicks you back into 3D? Does anybody really know? Right? And now some people have actually crossed over and they've come back and they said, don't go to the light. Don't go to the light at all because the light has something to do with the moon and it's kicking people back into the 3D. Yeah.
I read that
So,
this week somewhere.
yeah. So you might, you know what I mean? And like at that point, it's, thank God we have a Starseed family watching our bus.
That's true.
But
That's true.
yeah, but I mean, even all the other people, like, how do you know that you're supposed to do that? Right. And then not only that, but who knows if they're putting guides there and the guides look like your family members, so you feel an emotional connection to them. But are they pushing you to go to this light? Like, who knows what's real and what's not? So I think that you're going to have to feel it out when you get over there, and you're going to actually have to use your senses.
Yes.
Does this feel right? And what have I been told? Does it feel like a scam? Right. And we've been through so many scams on this planet that people are starting to wake up to the full conspiracy. Right.
That is
And so,
true.
and that's, yeah. And so what happens in the afterlife? Are we still going to, and now there are certain places where you can even go into astral form. And so the astral form, you're able to lift your entire body directly out of your physical body. And that's your soul form or your astral body. And you could take that body and you could fly around the entire solar system. There's certain places that you go where there's certain technology that will block you from being there. And so you may come back to your body and may have a headache for a week. So that's high technology. They cause distortions in the soul patterning. So you can't kill light, you can't harm it, but there's something that they're beaming at people that could generally cause something in the physical to manifest. Yeah.
So when you say there's something being beamed, are you talking about like, I'm not sure, like anything to do with artificial intelligence, or are you talking about something else?
It could be artificial intelligence, or it could be scalar, right? Or it could be psionic. And so some people have the ability, they can take their chi energetics, and there's no such thing as time space. So it can actually be beamed from across the entire solar system. And so, but they can stop your heart. That's how strong the energetics is. Everything is all connected. But you would have to manifest that experience. Right. So, but that's using psionic ability. There's also scalar technology that's coming from satellites that they can use to cause distortions in the physical form. And so you have to realize anything that you could do with the spiritual form, you could do with technology. And so that's just the way the holographic simulation works.
Yeah,
so,
that's weird.
Like, let's say, for an example, if you were the president, right, the president of the United States, you're not going to want people yanking themselves out of their body and spying on you. So what are you going to do? You're going to develop some type of technology to block people, because we went through this with the Russians or the Soviets, like whatever war that they were having, and they started learning about astral projection. They started sending people over, and then the people started fighting in the astral bodies and realized that they were unable to. And so, but from there, the governments became aware of this spiritual technology of our bodies. And so you know that they took steps to seal it off so that they would have their privacy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of this stuff is actually, it's known, but it's just been kept secret.
Absolutely. Well, the CIA released some type of documents. And so I've seen a couple of TikToks. And the one TikTok I saw, the lady was all like, oh, they were teaching people how to adjust each chakra so that they can walk through a wall. And I'm like, yeah, the Star people told me that a year ago. Now the CIA is telling you. So, you know, everyone should be reading. And that's why I don't know why they're censoring me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm like, you guys release CIA documents. I guess in the written form is totally different than speaking, right?
Maybe, yeah.
How many people read?
Yeah.
So, but that's also a sign. If the audio and video is getting blocked, then they're not blocking the written word. So I guess they're not expecting us all to be reading. So that's exactly what we should be doing.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah.
I think on a mass level, people are not going to be reading. but I love reading personally. And so, yeah, it would be great if people just kind of started looking with their eyes, in a different way than at a
Yeah.
video.
Oh yeah. Actually, I suggest that anyway because I've taken like movies, and so when you read the words, like let's say you put the subtitles on, you make it really
Mhm.
slow. You actually read all the words that are coming out of the characters' mouths, and you put them all together. So like let's say you're reading the script. Okay, let me see the script for just the main character. What words is he saying? All of a sudden, you from reading it, you're gonna come out with a totally different meaning. When you sit there and you watch the video, 90% of the video goes straight through you. You kind of get the point or the gist of it, but you're not hearing every single word come out of the man's mouth. It's all kind of blending together.
Mhm.
It's tuning into your subconscious mind. That's the way the
Yep.
human cohesion works. And so when you sit there and you read it, now all of a sudden it gets absorbed very differently. And this
Mhm.
is why they say reading is fundamental because your consciousness absorbs it differently with the sight. Now, some people, especially, they're saying that people with ADD and like focus abilities, because they're not distortions, they're abilities that just don't know how to be used properly. But
Mhm.
some people who can't focus or use the sense of sight, they would listen to an audio. And so that audio, by closing your eyes and listening, you're going to perceive it differently than watching a movie. Something to do with the flashes and the subliminals and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's important.
Yep. There is a lot of subliminal stuff, with a lot of commercials. Like it started out to be with marketing and selling products, but now there's just so much subliminal stuff that I stopped watching TV a long time ago.
Oh, me too. I put a blanket up over my TV.
Yeah.
And so, like, I can't remember the last time I turned it on. The last time I turned it on, I think I plugged a movie in, though, to a DVD
Mhm.
player. Like, I don't watch TV. I refuse to pay for
Yeah.
it. There's like an hour worth of commercials. Like, who are you people trying to program? Nobody has time for that. I would rather pay Netflix. But
Yeah.
even Netflix, and let me tell you something, Netflix is slick because now they control what videos your consciousness sees, right? So they're giving you the bulk of the list. And then they control the top 10 videos. So if they wanted to push an agenda, they just control that first list of what you see. Oh, this is the top. This is what everyone else is watching. Well, those are what they want to push on us.
That's
And
true.
so that is a form of manipulation. And you can see it. And so
Yeah.
not only that, but the phones and the tablets and TVs are it's all recording. And so they have found microphones in washer and dryers. And my utility guy told me that. He goes, yeah, we pulled apart the dryers and we found microphones before. And so that's someone who comes to, oh yeah, yeah. They put them inside the washer and dryers. And like not only that, the stoves. Why the hell does the stove have to be plugged in? Right? The old stoves used to have a little click, 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 and then it would light the gas on fire.
Yep.
Well, all the
True.
brand new stoves, they have to be plugged into electricity. Why? Because you guys are running microphones in the stoves. That's why. Because they want to listen to what's happening inside your house. The new refrigerators are the same way. Right? And
Crazy.
so this is what Edward Snowden was trying to release to the people. He was
Yeah.
trying to tell people, hey, the government is spying on you guys, right? And why else would the government spy on you? Hey, is it possibly because you guys have extrasensory abilities and you can activate them and they want to see who the hell's doing what? And so they also have technology where Junville Melchizedek said this in one of his videos. This was years ago, I saw this. But he said that the government said when he activated his Merkaba field, they sent helicopters over his head. And they were in contact with him because they said that on their computers, they could see he lit up like he was a city. And so when you activate your Merkaba field, there's some type of energetic flare off. So the government knows immediately how many people are in the local area and how many activated Merkaba fields there are. So, I mean, I guess nowadays it's too many people to keep tally of because everyone's doing it.
Yeah, everybody is doing
Yeah,
it. So keep
they
doing it.
are.
Don't let that scare you. Anybody
Oh
watching
no,
the
I
video?
definitely wouldn't. I definitely would. Oh yeah, don't get scared. I'm not scared. I think it's funny. I
Yeah,
had
it's
them in my house. Yeah, so like I saw someone. There was a cloaked guy in my house. He beamed something in my head. I was like, I'm fine. Yeah, and so it is what it is. You can't be scared, right? We came here for
yeah.
a revolution, and so you have to know and believe in you're protected. And not only that, but the fear of death comes into play. So I've had that near death experience. I'm not scared.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know the star people are guiding me and protecting me. And I know that they're guiding and protecting the people watching my videos. Thank you guys. And so I have no fear for anyone who's watching my information as well. Right. And so that belief that I have will protect everyone watching my videos. Right. And you see how the manifestation gets passed along to person to person to person. And that's what we should be doing for each other. Right. So we should be banding together as one tribe to make the change manifest. Yeah, totally.
I think
and so that is, yeah, we really have to do group meditations, because group meditations is where it's at. And
yes.
so when you start to band up, like let's say you get 1,000 people, and I've noticed too, even Facebook, when people try and organize group meditations, they get like blocked right away because they don't want people meditating together. And meditating together is the fastest way to raise the planet's frequency.
Totally it is.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Whoa,
okay, so yeah, we do have 4 participants here. So if anybody has any questions, now just realize if your face pops up, this video is probably going to be put on Facebook. So if you have any questions and you want to shoot them on over, or unmute your mic and tell us your question, we will answer them for you. If not, we'll save them for a later day if you don't want to be on the video.
Okay.
Let us know.
Yeah.
We'll give you guys a chance. Excellent. I don't see anybody.
Kind of fun topics today. Like we're talking about some really controversial stuff that floats around, but nobody really talks about, you know? It's good.
Very good. Yeah, I'm not really scared. I mean, I woke up to the conspiracy first, and I've walked around for years, and I'm like, yeah, I know this whole conspiracy. Someone needs to put me on a stage, right? And so I said that for years, and you know, it was, but learning the spiritual knowledge, I started to learn the beginning stages of metaphysical. And so when I learned that, then it shifted my perception. And then I was like, oh, okay, the reality is not what we think it is. And so we are the real ones who manifest everything. And so that was a perception shift. It was basically like opening my eyes. And then I was like, well, you know, we don't have to worry about the negativity, because in all reality, if I sit here and I eat toxins and poisons and I'm not dead yet and I have no fear of death, then all of a sudden I know my body's going to evolve above it and I'm going to become invincible to it. And that's actually how the evolutionary process works. And so all of us are eating all these chemicals. We're in a chemicalized environment. And I mean, how many people get sick? You have to have an energetic imbalance to manifest the disease. And that's so to some degree, those chemicals are not harming us. However, depending on your epigenetics, you may have some harm being done to you if you're not aware of it, right? So it all depends on how high your biological frequency is. So it is something to be aware of, but overall, as a species, most of us are fine, right? We're still alive, we're still kicking, we get up every morning, we go to work, we do what we have to do. And so, but the reproduction rates are something that's quite alarming. And so, but we've seen people get their tubes tied, for an example, and then all of a sudden, 5-10 years later, their tubes magically reconnected, and then they're magically pregnant. And so your body is designed to heal itself from anything, any damage. And so we have reports of a child who, like, I guess he lost his foot, but he was like a salamander child. So he had all these reptiles. And so no one ever told him that your limbs don't grow back, and he grew back his foot.
No.
Because he watched he watched his lizards grow back their feet and their tails. And so no one told him he couldn't do it. He was a little kid, he did it. So
I love that.
And they caught it on film. So it's recorded somewhere out in the internet. But yeah, a little kid, he grew back his foot. So if he can do that, that means that, you know, and certain tribes on this planet, now they eat chia seeds. And so different tribes that eat a lot of chia seeds and high mineral diets, they regrow their teeth when their teeth get injured or crumbled. They use their teeth as tools. And so what the hell? We're doing things totally backwards, you know, but the knowledge is coming to the people. Yeah. So our bodies are designed to heal themselves. I mean, I was a cripple for 12 years. I healed my pain in 2.5 weeks. So it is possible. And it's a holographic simulation at its best. So basically what the star people always say is your perception is your eyes, right? You have little lenses in your eyes that let you see into the holographic simulation. Well, there was one time when I came outside of my house and I saw my cat. I knew it was my cat. And I looked at him, I was like, that's not Munchkin, because his coloring was completely different. The second I said that, I said it out loud, my eyes blinked like this from left to right in the center. And then they unblinked, and then his coloring changed, and then he was my cat again. So what the hell happened? And then I started asking why. And then I turned out with a whole download on the topic. And they were like, because you change your perception of the holographic simulation. So apparently, the source frequency comes down into the holographic simulation, and we all look a certain way. We all look like light beings. We all look beautiful like angels or something like that, that notion. And it's everything. It's even the plants. We're already in the heavens. We're already in paradise. But then there's all these distortions over our eyes, so we just can't see it. And so what they say is that reality is built right on top of this one. So all you have to do is change your perception, and you're granted access into it. Now that comes with the Christ consciousness grid, which they portray it as being above your head because the crown chakra opens like a flower. However, the truth of the matter is that when you raise your frequency high enough, you're granted access into 5D. It's here right now. That's 5D. So if you change your perception, you're changing your frequency. You change your frequency, you become happy, you put everything in alignment, you start working on your energetics, and all of a sudden, you're in heaven. You don't have to die. You don't have to go anywhere, right? It's all a manifestation of a holographic simulation. That's
Well, it's
genius.
true. You can totally change your perception. You can bliss out your life a way lot more if you just change the way you look at things.
Yeah. Well, I've had experiences where I've manifested lightning. So I've had lightning hit my car twice. My brother's house completely fried out all of his electronics when I was mad at him once. That was an accident, and I was way younger. But I've also had items instantaneously manifest. So I've changed money, and I've had little items show up around me when I knew that they weren't there. They were at my mother's house in another state. And so when you have so many experiences show up of just things that shouldn't be, but yet they are, it starts to open your eyes, and it's just like seeing my cat. Like, I know what I saw. He was brown. My cat was black and white. And the second I brought attention to it, I'm like, that's not Munchkin. But he was looking at me like he was my cat. It blinked and he changed colors. And it was only one eye that blinked. And I saw it slide and open. Right. And so when you see something like that, there's no going back. It's like, no, I know what I saw. And
That's
so
true.
it changes. Yeah, it changes your perception. So, yeah, beautiful.
It's really fun to have experiences like that where you're in awe because you're surprised, but you know it really happened. So you're in awe, but you're like, wow, that's amazing, like that I experienced that. And you're right, it does change something. It changes how you think about your reality.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Most definitely. Because when you start to pull your reality apart, the physics even shows us that it's not solid. And so if this reality is not solid and that our consciousness can shift and we can change it, so what does that mean, right? Break it down for me. That means that I can blink my eye and I can change the wall, and now the wall could be blue. Well, that's an instantaneous manifestation. That means that there was a parallel reality in which I got up, I got off my butt, I got a can of paint, and I painted the entire wall. That was a parallel reality. Now, what did I do? I time space hopped because time space isn't real, and I shifted into a parallel reality in which it's already done. That's what I did. That's the scientific terminology of what I just did. We are multi-dimensional. Time space does not exist. The only moment is this exact moment in the now moment. And so when we start to learn to harness the time space frequency wave, we become the most powerful beings in the entire cosmos, because we're able to zippity doo dah across the entire solar system and instantaneously timeline hop to another planet. It all depends on your belief systems and how far. There's 3 different levels or 3 different degrees to this ability, they say. This is only the first degree of the gift. They haven't even discussed the 3rd degree. The 3rd degree is activating a full light being. And so with that comes a whole new octave above the crystalline realm. And so supposedly there's 12 different octaves. Now we're talking about going into 5D, right? So you have to realize that the way that they show it is like you have primary chakra systems in this body. You have another set above you and another set below you. So imagine that this is 1, 2, and 3. That's only 3 different octaves, which is a chakra set. Well, what about the rest? Because there's 12 total. And so even when you fully activate your light body, there's more and more and more to go. And so you start going, and then not only that, but there's parallel realities.
Mm-hmm.
And now the parallel realities, the scientists and the physicists are telling you, and actually the ancient alien guys are telling you the same thing. Because if you listen to them, they'll tell you that they went through a portal. And when they went through the portal, they went into a white clean room, the type that our scientists would use. And what did they find there? It was like a particle generator. And so in another parallel reality, their scientists opened up a particle generator, sparked, and then all of a sudden the Big Bang Theory happened, which they developed a new universe. They developed a new frequency wave. That frequency wave grew and expanded, and then all of a sudden our universe is inside of that. So it turns into like a stacking of frequency waves where they have a reality and our reality is inside of their reality. But then you take a look at the ants on our planet. They're in their own reality that's inside of our reality, and we're inside of their reality. And so, but that's how a frequency wave forms. It's multiple waves just forming, and then it generates the physical matter. And so you can have parallel realities. Your consciousness can shift to multiple ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's multidimensional. It's amazing. Amazing.
There's more and more posts on Facebook, for instance, about this exact thing we're talking about. And it's quite fascinating. You just have to open your mind to that possibility. Because if you don't open your mind to the possibility, it can't be real. It can't manifest. That's the thing.
Well, look at the Men in Black movie. It was kind of like that they were trying to tell us. Because in the end, you'll see one part where he opens the subway locker, and then the little people are worshiping him, and they're worshiping a watch. So they're worshiping time, which is what we do. We have to be on time, right? And so, and then they were worshiping. But then he's like, look at this. And he closed the locker door. Those little people went away. Then he opened an exit door. And what did he see? He saw a billion different lockers and like, a train section with like 1,000 different aliens walking. That's where we are right now. And so that's a true multidimensional nature that we live in. And so we're talking, there's billions and billions of trillions of billions of extraterrestrials up in the solar system. But there's also parallel realities. There's interdimensional beings. There's interdimensional beings. And so these are just parallel frequencies, realities, dimensional shifts. And then not only that, but the dark matter hasn't even really been fully explored. And that's another area or aspect the star people have been teaching me about. So the dark matter is where the attachments live. That's only one being who are in the lower octave range. And so those are known as the archons or attachments, or shadow beings also live there. There's a full range, just like there's beings on this octave, they have a full range of beings on the lower octave. And then we go and we want to talk about the angel realms. And so we know we have the seraphim and all these other different named angels and different archetypes and all this stuff. And then, there's even more beings on top of them. And so just pure light beings. So there's different frequencies, there's different realms, there's different beings. And it's just where your consciousness is focused right now. Now, your true power lies in taking full biological control over your systems. When you take full biological control of your systems, and all of a sudden, if you have the ability to instantaneously heal, then that means that you can basically, if somebody dropped you into outer space where we would freeze to death, right? Well, it's a holographic simulation. You can spontaneously heal. That means that you can go in that environment and you won't be harmed. And so we can see different types of life forms already exist in outer space. And so they're like single-celled amoebas, but they have location codes and they're very different than us. And so, but they're up there and they're in outer space. So you take a look at their genetics. They have DNA that's just like us. So what genetics are turned on? So their genetics is our genetics. We can tell because the genetic string is just either turned on or it's not. And so what genetics do they have turned on? And then all of a sudden you go inside yourself and you start turning on those genetics. And now all of a sudden you can spontaneously heal just like them. And so it's our genetics is not much different than each other. And so even Tesla, or not Tesla, who's that guy?
Elon
That
Musk?
guy that made the Tesla. Yeah, Elon Musk even said that we can take the DNA of a human being and we can tamper with it and turn them into a butterfly. And so that means that he's quite well aware of what the genetics is capable of doing. So if you people know how to turn our genetics into a butterfly, then why can't you solve a virus, right?
Right.
Kind of makes you open your eyes and think about that. Because if you could turn me into a butterfly, you should be able to cure a virus very, very easily. Very easily.
A flu, actually, right?
Yeah, something super simple, right? I mean, and then the flu, and not only that, but the flu viruses, the UV lights kill. And so, we're putting all this glass in the way of the UV light, and we're putting UV resistant. Your body actually requires UV. And so UV it gives you vitamins, it gives you vitamin D. So I actually just had somebody come who had MS. I saw them at a parade. I didn't know them. And so I got into a whole conversation with them, and I was like, "Oh, MS." I'm like, "Canada said that that's a symptom, right? And that multiple sclerosis can be healed by vitamin D." And she was like, "Well, we're always out in the sun." And I'm like, "But they are spraying types of aluminum and chemicals up there, which is reflecting the light back up at the sun. And so you may always be out in the sun, but your body is not getting the vitamin D from that sun. So you have to get a vitamin D lamp because vitamin D should be absorbed through the skin, not a pill." And she said, "Oh, well, the doctor put me on pills." And that's not working because you still have MS. Get the light bulb. And so now we're going to see, right? Because people who have that, they get the light bulb and then they heal themselves. And so, but it's something as simple as UV from sunshine, right? And so if we are missing the UV, if all of us are UV and vitamin D deficient, what other frequencies do we receive from the sun? Because the sun is known across the limits, it's known to activate your consciousness. So if they're reflecting it and we're not getting the full spectrum, what happens when they stop reflecting the sun and we do get the full spectrum? I'll tell you what happens. Your consciousness shifts and it elevates very, very rapidly. Now, what
Mhm.
does that look like? That looks like your mirror reflections get amplified, they are saying. And so your mirror reflections is, what are you trying to manifest? If you're trying to manifest, we'll take winning the lottery for an example, then all of a sudden you start seeing winning the lottery everywhere. That's a reflection. And so when the sun is full strength, your reflections start to speed up because that sun has an effect on the time space frequency encoding, they are saying. Yeah, beautiful.
So get out more into the sun.
Yeah, excellent.
So you were
Do you
talking
have any
about,
more? Yeah,
I was going to stick a question in here because you were talking about particle accelerators, and I wanted to ask you about CERN, the big
yeah,
hadron hadron collider. Yes, I think that's what it's called.
yes,
Um,
yeah.
what can you tell us about this? And like, well, when I think about it, I don't really like it personally because I think that it's humans again tinkering with trying to be the creator, like God. And it has so much power. I read that, okay, so it's something like it has enough energy in the Hadron Collider to create, like, to basically destroy the Earth like 7 times.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it kind of does. So, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way around that. You kind of, well, you just shouldn't manifest that experience. Now, you
I
have
mean,
to
can
realize
we?
the people running that collider, right? So we want to always ask the question, right? So the reason why each of us are being called to ask questions instead of just accepting another person's information is because what do you see? What symbol do they put outside their door? They put like an ancient god of death or destruction outside their door. So are the people who built that building a positive, loving, caring kind? Not if they're flying that flagpole, unless we've been manipulated and we don't know who that God is. But according to all the research, that dude is, or that girl is evil. And so, are they trying to open portals to the lower frequency realms? Quite possibly, because this is what was done to us once before, and cycles repeat. How can we solve it? By realizing that what they are doing with technology is they are generating a particle, right? And so we are frequency generators. And so when we all come together, specifically when you come together, you all have access to generate the same exact particle just using the human consciousness. And
Mhm.
so you can also transmute that entire building, that entire machine, you can transmute it directly out of your holographic simulation at the flick of a switch. However, it's there for a reason. And the cycle is there for a reason. And so knowing that it's there for a reason and you guys are going to benefit from having it in your physical reality, it's going to open up the door to the dark matter. And you need to know the dark matter because they're saying in order to generate new universes, oh my God, in order to generate new universes, you have to understand dark matter. Now, that's what the people did in the parallel reality. That's what they were saying earlier, right? The guy went through a porthole. He ended up in another like laboratory. It was all white, and they told him that they used the particle collider to generate a spark, the spark that created everything. That's dark matter. Now, they've been saying for weeks, you need the dark matter to make new universes. That's what the scientists did. So the dark matter is directly connected into the void spot. The void spot, you have the source frequency and you have the void spot. This is kind of like the yin and the yang. And so the void spot, it's connected into the back of the chakra system. So let's say we'll take the back of the heart for an example. So whenever you fire off a lower trauma-based emotional frequency, so take fear, right? The back of your heart goes boop, and it goes out the back, and it generates a mark in the void spot. And so that starts the cycle repeat, because that's telling your soul, okay, she's afraid of this. She has to have this again and again until it transmutates and she's no longer afraid. And so then that's how the whole system works. It kicks it back into the void. And so the front of you is connected to the source frequency, because when you feel a love-based emotional frequency, your heart opens up, your chest expands, and it's more like uplifting, right? Well, when it's tuned to the void, you're shrinking forward and it's going out the back of the heart. And so you need to know dark matter, because you need to incorporate the darkness and the light in order to fully evolve as a species. And that's the reason why the darkness is on your planet right now, because the darkness and the light both gets encoded. And then all of a sudden, it allows you to raise your frequency. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
I know, right? I'm like, I hope we recorded that.
That makes so much more. That makes it better.
So I gotta write that one down. Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to the video.
Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot, but it really made me feel better. It really made me a new light on that.
Good. When I channel, I only remember tiny little pieces of it. So I remember we're talking about a particle accelerator and the void and the heart. That's about it.
And then me, I'm trying to like soak it in and process what you're saying. So I probably got more of it than you.
Yeah, you probably did. I have to listen to it. You know, it would be great if like I had a microphone and the microphone just recorded all of this, so I could just put it in a book. Because I can talk for hours and hours. So, and we'll channel for hours and hours, channel. They're talking too, because he's here and he's like, I'm here too. You know.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's cute.
Well, so come on, guys. Do we have any questions out there?
Yeah.
Do you have
I got to change my headphones because my headphones are dying. So just 2 seconds.
All right.
Keep asking for questions.
Okay. Well, nothing came up, but are you on?
Let me know if, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Well, we didn't get any questions, but okay, so I'm gonna spit.
They probably don't want to come on the video because it's just gonna be a lot of people watching the video, so you know, it's okay. Yeah, I totally get it.
Well, you know what? Everybody that loves Danielle's videos, and because we might be doing more Zoom videos, you're gonna have to get yourself one of these masquerade masks and just put it on, and then come live and ask your question.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking maybe there's a way to like set up a subscription list or something so that everyone can like put their name on the list, and then if we're like recording videos and putting it on a different app, because if we're going to get censored by Facebook and Instagram and all them, then you know we can make the videos on here and then post them, and so we'll figure it all out, but it's all in the works. Right. So whenever the universe gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So we're going to pivot and we're going to flow with the universe and just be happy. Right. So just be happy and excited. And maybe this was just because of the eclipse energy. So that's all. Telegram mutes people and then you can raise. Oh, man, it disappeared.
Oh, no, I can read it. It says Telegram mutes people. Oh,
did it disappear? It disappeared. Well, how do I load comments on this? Oh, here's a chat box. Telegram mutes people, and then you can raise your hand to speak. Oh, so that's cool. Do you have any questions? So we're waiting for your questions. You guys, there's a meeting chat. Now I can see the meeting chat. So if you guys have any questions, you can put it right into the meeting chat. And so we can read it. Can you see the meeting chat?
I can. I
You
just
can?
turned it
Okay.
on. Mhm.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I had no idea there was a meeting chat. I just lost the meeting chat. Meeting chat is gone.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got it. So if anybody puts anything on,
Perfect.
I can read it out.
Excellent. Yeah.
Well, we actually, this has been kind of an interesting session because
Yeah.
we're talking about different things than normally that we would talk about.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
talking
and
about
this is what I was just telling Allie earlier. I'm like, I could sit here and channel them and channel them and channel them. I said, but when Fi-ya gets on, I said she's interacting and asking all these different questions, and it's like topics are so wide and variety. So it's good, and I feel like I would continue both, right? So
yeah,
this way we can get all the questions, because your questions, what you have to remember, everything is a reflection. So whatever questions that you have running in your mind, there's 100,000 people thinking the same exact thing, because they're on your energetic grids.
Yeah.
So whatever questions you have, just let them answer it. Let's just get the information out to people. And actually, I really should just start writing the book already and just getting it all down, pen to paper.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a great idea, because it's been so much information, and like information that's really, I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't want to bash anybody, but there's a lot of groups that have channeled information, but I feel like it's not really, people aren't able to use it. And if you're not able to use it, then, it's
there's
not
no point.
Yeah.
There's no point. That was actually one of my requirements in the beginning, because when I first started getting all the information from them, I'm like, oh, okay, so that's great. Now what do we do with that? Right. So if I can't use it in my physical life, if I can't take that information and make my day a happy, positive, bright, sunshiny day, then what good is it? It's not worth anything. And so I just have to say, this is hilarious. I think it's hilarious. Well, one of my friends, I was telling, I talk to UFOs, right? And she's very physically focused, and it's just hilarious. And she goes, oh, you talk to UFOs. Are they going to pay my bills? No. So she don't care. Right. But so you have to realize, though, that's the mentality of the people. Why do I care? Right. And I'm like, well, they have high technology and blah, blah, blah. Are they going to come down here and give me a device? No. So I don't care. So that's how people have been brainwashed, though. Right. And so you see that. And like now it's been a year. So her consciousness has evolved a lot. And now she's more inquisitive and she wants to know. But you can still see, like, you're at a certain degree of consciousness, and like that's how people are thinking. So you have to go per stage and per level. And that's where the different levels of consciousness are at. Like that's how you describe them to people, because there's different programming at different times in our life. So you take different steps to raise your consciousness. The steps have to come in the energetics. It has to come with knowledge, and you have to do energy clearing, right? So think about the way that we learn. If you're learning something new, sometimes that something new that you're learning replaces the old information that you thought that you knew, because that information was wrong. It wasn't wrong. It was just at a lower level consciousness. So what happens? The new information comes in, knocks the old information out. All of a sudden, you're clearing your energetics. You're fully absorbing the new information, and it's leaving you in a raised consciousness. That's how we change our perception. The sciences from 100 years ago are not the sciences of today, because we grow and we learn. And so this is a natural process of evolution. And so when you realize this, then all of a sudden, it just means that nobody is right or wrong. It was accurate for their day and age, right? But now this is accurate for our day and age. And so it's just a shifting of your perception, because then it allows all experiences to just be, right? And so even with right or wrong morality, there really is no right or wrong. There's just a choice that you make in the experience that you have. If you make a lower vibrational experiential choice, you're going to have to pay for it, because the universe is going to always push you towards love. And so in that sense, the source frequency or God or whatever, whoever you want to call, they are going to prompt your karma so that you're going to learn the lesson one way or the other. So that right there means that we don't need a judge and jury anymore. Right? Our God is our judge and jury, which people have been saying on this planet for a really long time. You're not my judge. You're not God, And so it's like a kind of built into an intuition of all people is, well, God's going to judge, right? And so that's not my job. I don't have to do that. And we're actually taught, like the star people told me multiple times, you should not cast any judgments at any person, because anytime you judge someone, it blows back at you 1,000-fold. And so if you think that people are ugly and you're teasing them and laughing at them, then all of a sudden you'll end up disfigured. And people have had that experience. And so that's a judgment that gets cast out and then it gets come back at you. And so that's the way the universe works. What you put out, it comes back. And so you want to make sure that you are only putting out positivity. And so in this reality, is it impossible to only put out positivity? It can be difficult. I'm not going to lie. It can be difficult. Sometimes you may want to kick the dryer, and that happens, right? But you recalibrate yourself, and it's all about your recalibration time. And so, yes, did you get mad? Yes. How quick did you snap back from it? Did you snap back in about 2 minutes? Yes. And that means you're a very high frequency person, right? It's not about not getting angry. It's about your recalibration, because the more and more and more you recalibrate, and it takes you shorter times to come back to love and light, then all of a sudden that recalibration stops happening. And then you'll find that you're just always in love and light. And then all of a sudden, the flower on top of your head will just blossom open and you'll be in 5D. That's how the star people have shown me that we can do it now without the solar flash. However, even if you open and you access 5D, you're still going to be here on this playing field. And so you may still experience the solar flash they are saying. Yeah. But you'll be in the 5D perception. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a comment up here. Well, first, we have someone that's really thankful for you. And she says she or he, I'm not sure, if you want to write a book, he or she would definitely buy it. So that's really lovely. But we have a question. If you judge someone or say something mean and feel immediate remorse, will you still see a negative karmic reaction? That's a good question.
Well, what is that remorse, right? How did that remorse make you feel? That remorse is the karma, right? Because you're feeling shitty because you did something crummy. I shouldn't curse. I'm sorry, I cursed. They just yelled at me. Yeah. So no more cursing. Sorry, no
cursing, Mom.
No cursing. And so, but yes, when you do something crummy, if it makes you feel crummy, that feeling is the karmic backlash, right? Because now all of a sudden, instead of you being bright and positive and happy, you are feeling a lower vibration. And so right there, that karma went right back at you.
Yeah.
Right. And so you should watch too, because really you don't want something bad to happen to your physical form because you were judging. Right. And so some people judge according to how much money you have. And then all of a sudden they lose everything. You should never do that. Right. Because, and we have a phrase for that. He who has fallen, or you've fallen so far, and so that happens to people because they were judgy. So you shouldn't judge. You should just be at peace. And not only that, but it's been found that the people who have nothing tend to share more.
Yes.
Which is ironic. Totally ironic. It's like they form a little community and they all share and they all eat together. And so, which is funny because that's the way that human beings were designed to work. We were designed so that we shared everything that we have, right? And so everybody should have and everybody should share, because when everybody's needs are met, crime rates drop by over 75%. And so that number that's I'm not pulling that out of thin air. That's the government telling people, when everyone's needs are met. What are your needs? Your needs are technology. You need a phone, you need a car, you need transportation, you need a roof over your head, you need food, you need clothes, right? So you need all of these things. And so when all your basic needs are met, then all of a sudden, what are you going to focus on? You're going to start focusing on, well, what do I like to do? What's your highest passion? Are you an artist? Go do your art. But what we're seeing right now in the civilization it's amazing, because now you have all these artists and musicians who are getting on TikTok, right? And they're just putting their music out to the world and they're just sharing their experience with people. And all of a sudden people are throwing money at them. Right. And so now it's like taking the music out of the producer's hands. We don't need you guys anymore. We're taking it right to the general population. Okay. And so you can kind of see the shift of money and the shift of the way that we do things is completely changing. People are not going to want to work for these big companies. These big companies, I foresee that they're going to go out of business in our lifetime. I think so. I really do. I hope so. Why? Because the replicators, when we have replicator technology, then we won't need the companies. And so, and if you can instantaneously manifest any item, once again, you won't need these companies. However, small boutiques will be needed because let's say that there's an artist and that artist wants to make clothes. And so we can go to the replicator, we can replicate our clothes, or we could go down to Julie's boutique and we could see what she's making because she does amazing stuff and she puts love into her work, right? And so it's a different civilization that we want to build. And so each person really, you have to put your focus. You have to put the synchronized stone, which is your heart stone, because the heart actually crystallizes when we tune into the crystalline frequency realms. And so this was new information that has been coming through the past couple of weeks for me. But the synchronized stone, and now the monks and yogis have found different areas of the heart will crystallize because they are meditating and they're tuning into love-based frequencies. And so they end up with a bunch of different crystals inside the heart. Now, the evolution of the human consciousness is actually going to be taking the heart and crystallizing the entire heart. They've spoken about the 12-strand crystalline DNA. So that DNA gets pumped through your heart. Now, what happens, it's also tied into an energetic grid structure. So when you start tuning into the heavens, which is a love-based emotional frequency, it starts to crystallize your entire biologics. And so that's going to happen. Well, how does that happen? It happens by visualizing your world as a paradise. What do you guys want to see? What do you want to see? Do you want to see people who make bread because they have a love for making bread? Because you know that that's going to be the best bread that you ever had in your entire life, because Definitely. They put their heart into it. And they are going to be growing heart crystals because their focus is on something that they love. It's like an artist painting a painting because he loves to paint. He's going to grow those crystals in his heart because he's doing something that he loves to do. When you access that zone of focus, it changes the time-space frequency wave. So your time seems to go very rapidly when your focus is in that perception. Now you have to also realize your biological form only ages according to the time you perceive. So if you are spending 5 hours making a painting, but it feels like only 30 minutes went by, your biological form only aged 30 minutes. So that's how time space can be starting to be manipulated or changing of the perception of it. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Honestly, I mean, you can see some elderly people that seem to just radiate and beam youthfulness. Oh. You know they're old, but they seem way younger, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They lived happy.
Yeah. Well, you can also tell yourself certain things. And so you, like, every year we take a birthday cake and we put candles on it and we increase the number. And so we're training ourselves to believe that we have just aged one whole year. And you might even notice that some people, it'll be the next following 3 or 4 days after their birthday, and now their hair looks like they have more gray. And so that's how fast that you can manifest things. You should never do birthday cakes. You should never put a number. Never. Right. And so if you're going to put a number, pick a low one. Right. So I'm 20. Every year you be 20. Yeah. But just keep saying it, keep doing it. Right. And so thank the cake, thank the universe, thank the fire, because the fire is an elemental. Right. Thank you, fire, for making me 20. Thank you. I'm 20. I feel like a 20-year-old. How does it feel to be 20? Does anybody remember how it feels? Right. Because that emotion code is what you really want to start holding. Now, the process of the way that you shift the physical reality is by visualization, but holding on to the emotion codes. Because when you visualize, you're tuning into the thought grids, right? That's a visualization. It's all connected into the upper thought grids. So by visualizing it and holding the emotion of how does it feel, you're accessing two of these things, putting them together, which in turn affects your memory grid. So your memory grid is how you shift the timelines in the now moment they are saying. And so when you start this process, closing your eyes, visualizing, I see myself as a 20-year-old. How does it feel? Open your heart chakra. Send your body as much love and light and rebalance your grids as possible in the now moment. But feel, how does it feel to be 20? Well, when I was 20, I used to wake up, put my feet on the floor, and I would be running a mile a minute. So how did that feel? Can I feel the emotion of that experience? Can I feel it? Can I hold it? Can I feel it? Can I let that emotion wash over my entire physical form? If you've changed your emotional expression, even if it only lasted 1 minute, that is a step in the right direction, because you keep doing that. You do that every single hour in the visualization process, then all of a sudden you may blink your eye, and just like my cat changed, all of a sudden your physical form changed. That's how you start to shape shift, right? So these things are real. You just have to put your focus on it. 369 represents, that's all I caught, Nitty Race. 369 is Tesla understood this, right? So you take a look at the pyramid shape, right? So the way the human form is developed is actually in 369. And so this is a Fibonacci and a phi mathematical sequence that underlies every single living thing as well as the human body. And so by 369, you have the Trinity. And so you have your masculine, your feminine, and then you have the child, which is your top of your crown chakra. It's both energies put together. However, your Merkaba field is one triangle up and one down. That's 6. And so the physical form 666, that is a human form. It's the 6. That's what that number represents. Now, 9 is a completion cycle. So 369, 9 would be all of these things put together, because you also have another triangle blended into the bottom below your feet. And 12 would be the flower at the top of the head. And so the numerology basically gives you a whole binary codex breakdown of the human form and the energetic grids. And so when you understand, and you have to really start doing the research on sacred geometry and quantum physics, because you'll see there are some videos out there that go into full detail about what the numerology means and how all of these mathematical sequences break down the complete holographic simulation. There's a binary codex that's underneath every single thing. So when you can take you can either take your mind, which is a supercomputer, or you could take a supercomputer and you could pull apart the binary codex of every single thing. Now, how do you do that? By going into the energetics and pulling apart the energetics. Then all of a sudden the supercomputer can see all the different marks in the energetic field. And now you can get what the hair color, eye color, all that stuff is encoded into the binary codex frequency. Because the physical reality, you're looking at one solid frequency wave that radiates down the physical form, radiates out still in a circular matter, but then it comes back in and it's forming a sacred geometric snowflake. That's all done by 369 because it's in mathematical sequence. Now, when this process happens, you have to realize that it's coming from your higher self and it's radiating out into every single thing that you see. So this crystal, while it looks like it is separate from me, it is a piece of my frequency radiating out, and my frequency stopped and made this. So this is an environmental of the secondary aspect of my energetic grid. The energetic grids have 3 different layers. So that's another 369, right? Because when you start to see each grid is made of 6 and there's 3 different layers. And so it all fits together like a puzzle piece. And so when you realize that every single thing that you see around you is all your soul, it's all your frequency radiating out and then coming in. But then your soul, because you're a separate individual than me, your soul is doing the same thing. And so I'm a reflection of you, but you're a reflection of me. And we are just coexisting in this holographic simulation. And so then it makes you kind of think, well, who's a real soul here? Because we have soulless people here, right? You have the non-player characters. So some people have taken notice that the neighbors all the way down the block, you never seen them carrying in groceries. Why is that? You never interact with them. So those are non-player characters. Those are simulation characters. Who are the real soul forms here? So you can kind of feel a person's energetic. You can feel when someone is a real soul. You look into their eyes, you see a light sparkle. If somebody looks dead inside, they may not have a soul form. So you have to be careful with who's who. Yeah. Can you read that one?
Yeah.
The comment?
Oh, okay. So there was a second part to the 369, and it was, how long does it take to manifest? Okay.
How long it takes to manifest depends on your belief systems. And so if your belief system, and you can tell your belief systems by doing muscle testing, right? So I believe that all people can have replicators in the next year. You pull your fingers apart. If they don't come apart, that means you believe that that's not true, right? So we're going to pull apart for the truth. So, okay, they actually go apart. So yes, all people can have replicators in a year. In my reality, I believe all people can have replicators in 6 months. Yes, that's true too. In my reality, I believe all people can have replicators in 3 months. Okay, there it gets a little tight. So maybe 3 months is my belief system is showing me. 3 months seems to be my limit. So I know that that manifestation could come to light in 3 months of my time. I know it could come a lot sooner, right? And so, yeah, because this is something I've been working on the side. Little manifestations I try and do for the entire collective. So, yeah, that's funny.
It's cool.
But
So it
anyway,
actually
moving
depends on
along.
you, right?
Yes,
Depends
it
on
depends
you.
on you and what frequency that you are holding, because your frequency is what you see in the manifestation of your physical reality. So what you believe is what you're going to perceive. And so we can coexist in this moment, but the next moment, or let's even take it to tomorrow. Tomorrow could be a totally different holographic simulation that you're seeing, right? So my reality could have shifted by leaps and bounds, but yours could have remained the same because you have free will. So what does free will mean? Free will means that you have the ability to be a co-creator of your physical reality in which you create what you wish to see. Now, when we say that and start people are stepping forward, many people don't wish to see things like a pandemic or negative experiences manifest. Those things come because your energetic grids have not been properly cleared. And so when you start clearing out the trauma, the density, the darkness in your energetic grids, the negativity disappears from your life. And now I'm a shining witness of that, because the star people walked me through a whole process. They said, don't watch TV. I said, click, turned it off. Right. So I try not to watch movies, try not to watch anything artificial. And so when I stopped watching the newspapers, I stopped watching the news. I don't want to hear anything happening. I don't even scroll my Facebook feed. I don't scroll. I put my post, I check my comments, I log off. I go sit on a mountain, I go walk in nature. And so I've noticed that I've cultivated a life of peace. And now that's not the way I was raised. I was raised in a really hustle bustle area in which there was a lot of screaming, arguments, and nonsense. And so this was all around the entire civilization because you see it everywhere. And so, but right now in my life, I have peace and I have quiet. And so some people might not be used to peace and quiet. So when you get it, it may look like boredom. It's not boredom, it's peace. And so what you are meant to do is cultivate your life so that your life has peace. And when you rebalance to that peace, now all of a sudden you'll find yourself creating very, very differently. Because whereas if, let's say, when you were in the hustle bustle, you found that you couldn't paint the picture. Well, now all of a sudden you have peace. What else are you going to do? All right, well, let's paint the picture. And so now you fell in love with painting that picture. And now all of a sudden it's become a hobby, right? And so that's what happens when each one of us finds peace. We find joy, we find peace, we find quiet times, solitude times, where we come inside and we reflect upon ourselves. And what are we learning by having this experience? What did I learn today? I was awake all day long. I got up super early in the morning. What did I learn today? Did I do something to help someone? Right. So I go right down the checklist. What did I do to help someone today? You know, was there anything that I would have liked to do differently? Was there anything that I could have done that could have made it better? Right. Because what if this is only a holographic simulation and you're only plugged in for one day? Just take that as an example. What would you do? Would you act differently if you only had this one day to live? So when you change your perspective to that, then all of a sudden you start making a list. Well, what's going to make me happy? What am I going to do to have fun? Make a list and go right down a list. Okay, well, I did baby steps to make myself happy today, right? And that's a score for me. And so that's it. And then you start doing things like that. And then you start being happier. And then all of a sudden you'll manifest a full life in which every day is happy. Right. And it all started because you made a list. Simple.
And sometimes we have to do that to be present in the moment, because we forget that we need to be present, you know, because we're going backwards to the past, or we're going forwards, worrying about the future, and we just missing out on this this beautiful space we have right in front of us.
Yes, and absolutely. And that was one of the big things that the star people had me do 2 times in my life, because they told me to do it once and then I forgot and I stopped doing it. And they were like, you need to bring back the list. Right. And so the list basically keeps you on track, keeps you focused. And so anything that you have to achieve. So let's say your electric bill needs to be paid, put it on the list. Right. Or the reminders app is great, because then my kids get it and then they remind me too. So it's like a double list. It's even better that way. And so, but it's also things that I want to do. Right. So let's sit down, let's figure out how to do Canva. Now, Canva makes, art of computer designs and stuff. And so, but you have to sit down, you have to play with it, you have to figure it out. So making the time, you put it on a list because you're going to put your focus to it. And so when you have a list and you are just, and let's say you can put amazing things on your list. Like, let's say, for example, you want to make $1 million, put it on your list. Sit there, think about it. Ask your higher self how you can do it. Now, all of a sudden, your higher self is going to give you a bright idea. Write them down, because you may get 2 or 3, you may get 5 or 10, right? And so what did the higher self tell you could do? Make a podcast. Did you make the podcast? Did you put the little check mark and you did it already? You made it? If you made the podcast and you're following all the check marks on your list, you will become a millionaire, because that is the masculine way of manifesting. And so the big business guys, they know this. That's why they have calendars. And they have calendars that they place right on their desk, because that directs their focus and attention. And so they know this. They know how to use the human consciousness. And so when you direct and you become the director of your universe, of your focus and your attention, when you become fully in charge of that, you actually, they call it, you graduated into adulthood, because now all of a sudden you know how to direct your consciousness. And that's serious to them, because now instead of you focusing on doing things like, for service to the self, which is like, oh, let me make $1 million for me. The star people are always like, take that focus and focus it on how can I feed 1 million people, right? Because that's a big one. How can I do this? And then all of a sudden you're going to get a ton of ideas, and then those ton of ideas are going to shift. Now, I never realized this, but in my lifetime, I would always have these spontaneous thoughts, right? And the thoughts would be like, oh, well, I need a poncho so I can have little zipper pockets to put my crystals in it when I meditate, right? And if anybody makes a poncho with that, just please send me one, because it was my idea. And so, but I always get 1 million ideas like this, right? And like the blankets to sleep. And I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to make a poncho. That's not my job. My job is to bring information. But when you have an information source, you have to realize a lot of the information we can also tune into comes from the higher self and from Mother Earth's consciousness grids. And so when you start tuning in and you become in alignment, you're going to start to notice all of these thoughts and ideas tune in very, very rapidly, right? And so just bringing the ideas in are wonderful, because then you can sell the ideas, you can make a ton of money, and then that's how you can feed people, right? So that right there is one example of how you can tune into the higher self and get information to put you on the timeline of which you can manifest whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Right.
It's simple. And we all can do it. Everyone can do it.
Nice. Okay. So there was another comment we have here and a question at the end. I was in a really bad place mentally and running on chemicals in my 20s. How can I feel younger or remember what it felt to be younger when I've always felt much older than what I've been? Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So at that rate, you would definitely want to have a look at the attachments that you're running, because, and the attachments has been coming up all day for me in my sessions. And so I noticed that people are running attachments that they're pushing thoughts and emotions onto people. And these are lower vibrational beings that are highly sentient. They are conscious. They do latch onto you. We can see them with technology. And so they are called the archons, but there's also the shadow people, and there's multiple different types of them. When these things latch onto you, they change your emotion code. And so changing your emotion code changes the way that you feel. And so for an example, they're showing me that someone can have their hand removed. Let's say they had an accident, their hand got chopped off, right? And so all of a sudden they take the hand, they put it down by their body, and they put them so that they're putting their other hand on a table. And then all of a sudden they put a mirror, so it looks like they're looking at 2 hands on the table. And so the guy will take the feather and rub the right hand. The guy will feel the right hand, and then he'll rub the imaginary hand, and then they will still feel the imaginary hand. And so the process of visualization and changing your emotion codes works very similar to that. And so if you can see it, if you can visualize it, and then you can feel it, right? So how can you change the feeling code? Well, changing your feelings of how your body feels is very simple, right? When you start spiking up your adrenaline, or you start taking ice showers, right? Then all of a sudden your fight or flight system goes on and you feel rejuvenated, because you just activated yourself to a degree that anti-ages the physical form very rapidly. And so you also would want to take into consideration a chemical detox. So charcoal is great for doing that. Charcoal actually pulls any and all the toxins out of the system, is great for chemical detoxes. This is the reason why the hospitals use it. So charcoal acts as a magnet. and it magnetizes toxins from different cells and it pulls them out of the body. It does not pull nutrients out. So that's important to say. So your fruits and veggies should be fine in your body. You will not kill yourself from that. However, if you are on pharmaceutical drugs, so antidepressant meds, heart meds, any of that stuff, that's also going to get pulled out because that's all toxic. And so that's what charcoal does. You have to be careful with your medicine, but it'll start to detox the body. Now, there's also they're saying chanting and breath work that will pull the toxins out of the physical form as well. The cerebral spinal cord fluid comes up and down the spine. So this is of great value to do too, because certain toxins they're saying can cause blockages in the spinal cord fluid. This may also be a reason why you may see spinal cord shifts or distortions. And so certain toxins like soda, right? And so they're bringing that to my attention because I used to be a heavy duty soda drinker and my spine ended up crooked. And so it is known that certain sodas can cause the spine to dehydrate, but also shift and become imbalanced. And this is the reason why. It's a toxin. And so they put the chemicals in. And so when you start flowing the spinal cord fluid up and down again, then all of a sudden it's going to open up, the channel is going to heal itself because now you're activating it. And so they're saying that they want you to do that as well, because that can it can tune you into love-based emotional frequencies and tune you into bliss, which then in turn, the second that you make connection with the source frequency, your depression is gone and you feel totally different. Yeah.
Very good. Is it also possible that, okay, so in this person's comment, he says that, in his 20s, he or she, in their 20s, they were overtaken by older feelings. So, maybe it was like a lot of responsibility at a young age as well. And that just kind of, it put an impression into that time of that person's life. And I think that's really heavy too. Like it can be the experience of what the circumstances presented to you when you were in your 20s. And how
it's always like that, right?
Yeah.
So the cycle always repeats. And so when you have an experience, even if it's something like that, then you can see that experience, if you didn't enjoy it or it didn't uplift you, then that experience, if you generated any lower vibrational emotions from it, it causes a cycle repeat. And so you may be young, you may have that cycle the first time, and then all of a sudden later on in life, the cycle comes back. And so it can come back in a completely different form with completely different people, but you'll still have the same scenario manifesting. You have to make peace with it. And that's what we're all being asked to do. And so how do you make peace with it? You go into the emotions, you forgive them, you send them love, you send them light, but you also want to clear out your physical form of any density or karma from it, right? So you can use magnets, running them over the physical form 10 times alleviates the trapped emotion in the physical form. And so that you're able to do. And so, but there's multiple ways of going inside the consciousness. Now, when you get to a certain degree, you can go inside the consciousness and make instantaneous changes. However, you have to be to a certain degree to access the sub-programming computer system of the subconscious mind, they're saying.
Yeah, it's all programming in there.
Yeah.
So that's that needs to get scrubbed, like it needs to get scrubbed clean and purified.
Yes. Which the star people will walk you through all of that. That's part of your shadow work. And so we all have things in life that we have to overcome, right? And it's every single person. And it's even if you have a boatload of money, you're still not happy with something. Something still has to change. You have to overcome something. And that's part of being alive. And so if you didn't have something to overcome, your soul would get bored of being here and it would ripcord you. And so your soul would end your life cycle here because you didn't have anything to overcome. And so we see this happen with different, insects and animals. And like, if there's no struggle or they're too happy, then all of a sudden, what is there to overcome? Right. And so it's just, there has to be something that you are consciously placing your focus on, or you have to be in a higher frequency realm so you have access into the instantaneous manifestation. Right? Because you can be happy with this and then you can switch to doing something else when this makes you bored, right? But it's unlimited. But even still, this is the reason why the people who are up in that frequency realm choose to take on a physical form. And this is the reason why we change biological form. So we don't get trapped in one body. We can rip cord out of being human and we can go put ourselves in an Arcturian body. Right. And so that's kind of like a blessing to the soul form, because the soul doesn't get bored in one form. It gives us the opportunity for a fresh start and to relearn. Now, the process of evolution is unlocking the memory grid. So basically what we're looking at is full blown memory of every single life incarnation. And so that's really, really important, because when that happens, then all of a sudden you become, once again, master of your universe, because you have full access into all the memory grids. And so that's very powerful, because when you can go into the memory grid and make a small altercation. So let's say, for an example, you close your eyes, you went into a meditative state and you changed something that happened in your past. So whoever that comment is from, they can do it too. Close your eyes, go into a meditation and change your memory. Did that memory even happen? Was it real? 70% of all of our memories are faulty. That means that they didn't happen the way that we remember them. So if you're able to use your consciousness to go into your memory grid and make a small change, then all of a sudden when you open your eyes, what's different? Because you change the memory grid, you're changing the timeline you're on, which changes the physical moment of the now moment. And so we all, it's part of the multidimensional being that you are. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So we can tackle that a few different ways.
Yes, there's multiple ways. Definitely.
Very good.
Excellent.
What have we got? What have we got for time here, Danielle? We've got
it's 11:30 here. Yeah,
okay,
so I'm about done.
Yeah.
It's time.
All right. Well, that was a great chat today. Nice live podcast. Any more questions? Just the last call for question or two. No?
Yeah. Any more?
Oh, that's so nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing up. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, thank you guys. I only sent the invite out to a couple people. It was like 2 or 3. That was it. So hopefully if I seen you, I seen you. Because I felt bad. The last time we put the link to Zoom on Facebook and they crashed our Zoom. And so
Really?
they put pornography, and like it was just crazy. Everyone, I was like, click the link, exit, and then everyone exited. Yeah.
Weird.
No, it was an attack. It wasn't really weird. It was a cyber attack. Yeah. It happened very rapidly. So it was kind of like they knew what they were doing. But what we did was we took the Zoom link and we put it right out on Facebook so anyone could take it and come. We wanted to open it to everyone to see and to hear and to be a part of the conversation. I think we're probably going to have to get webinars. So Zoom webinars, so people can link in, but then they can't open their mic. So it's a little different.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we can stick the live on Facebook and people can link in and listen.
Because actually we didn't have any interruption. We have a very clear sound, and we didn't have all the stuff we usually have on Facebook. So
yeah, it's totally different on Zoom. Zoom we pay for. So Zoom is a paid account. Yeah. And it's not live, right? So we take the video and then we go and we push it on the lives. I don't know how to do that. Allie's gonna have to show me. Okay. So, but yeah, we put it on YouTube. We'll try and put it on Facebook, right? We'll see what happens.
Nice.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay, over and out.
Yes, excellent. Many, many love and blessings, guys. And thank you so incredibly much for coming. And thank you for sticking around to the end.
One quick
thing. You guys are my champions.
One quick thing, Danielle.
Yeah.
Tell people what you do, because we didn't even go into that. But if anyone wants to know about the skills that you have to heal, I think we should just let people know.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I do energy clearing. And so I'm really, really good at it, but it's not all me. It's actually the star people working through me, or the star people working at the same time I'm doing it. And so what they do is they do a full energetic clearing. And so a lot of times it cleans out all of the energetic grids. But then in my sessions, I normally do a full energetic clearing. And then they download information that you need that's going to get you to the next level of your evolution. Now, you got to remember your evolution, it goes in bricks, they show me. So it's like a step, and then you learn a little bit of information and it takes you up to the next step. And so the evolution, that's how it goes. I try to skip the steps and I try to go right to the top, and they said, you can't skip the steps. You have to go through the steps. And so, but that's my sessions. And then I also offer healing sessions. And in the healing sessions, I dive into your traumas. You don't have to tell me the traumas, I feel them. And so I pull them out of your energetic grids. We go through, we heal them, and we release them from your memories as well as your physical form. And so that's something that the star people also help me do. Now, the only reason I started doing healing sessions is because I felt like there's a need for it, because so many people have all these childhood traumas and all that stuff. And you know what? It's a way for us to express our love and to allow you a safe space for you to come and get healed in, where there's no judgments. I don't judge because I've walked every single trauma experience on this planet. And so I know the emotion codes for all of them. And so that helps me to really discharge any attachments that you may be carrying to the trauma-based emotions. And so knowing the emotion codes really helps. And so I do that too. And then most importantly, I like to talk about spirit science and, you know, how to raise your frequency and activate your extrasensory abilities. Because if I can activate one person to instantaneous manifest something, right, that's a domino effect. And then it's game over for the entire planet. Right? Because all of a sudden, that one person is going to turn around and be like, look what I can do. And then they're going to show their friends, and then their friends are going to be like, I want to do that. And then it's, how do you do that? And how do you do that? You become more loving, caring, kind. You open your heart chakra and you start tuning into the source frequency. It'll happen automatically because it's happening billions of times each second that you're alive anyway. You're just changing your perception and allowing it to manifest. And so I've had people during my session see aliens in their bedroom and see UFOs. And so some people have fairies and orbs, and all sorts of amazing beings are coming through. And they're all here right now to help us evolve. And so there's nothing more important in my reality than doing this type of work, because it really is giving me the option to help people and to help the evolution of the entire planet. And so that's what I do. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I homeschool 2 kids. So
Also
that's
nice.
me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Danielle.
Yes, thank you guys. And
All
yeah,
right.
you guys can just go to daniellelipton.com, and that's my website, and you can just book a session. Excellent. Thank you, Fi-ya. And so thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and many, many love and blessings.
All right, bye.
Bye.